to the podcast series Talking Success, Connecting the Global FinTech Community. I'm Catherine Brassell, and today I'm joined by Alexandre Boulenger, who is the co-founder and CEO at Genify. Genify is a banking software application that allows banks and fintechs to make personal finance management a reality in their mobile app SaaS API, which covers data enrichment, spending analytics, spending event-based notifications, product recommendation, and alternative credit decisioning. Hi there, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It's a real pleasure to have you. How's your week been so far?
Hi, Catherine. Really excited to speak to you today. The week has been going great so far. Thank you. Yours?
Yeah, it's been a great week, and all the better now that we're speaking to you. And it would be an amazing opportunity to just hear a little bit more about yourself, about your own personal journey. Yeah, so just to kick us off with your background, and we'll take it from there.
So I have a background in math and quant finance. And just before graduating and starting an extended backpacking trip in South America, I discovered machine learning. And I thought, I might as well get some actual experience in the field in addition to whatever I could get back then in a university. And so I canceled the trip, and instead I contacted all the companies I could find on LinkedIn in a few countries in Latin America. I think I focused back then on Chile, Colombia, probably a couple other more. So yeah, I messaged quite a few founders of fintech companies and other companies that were using data science and machine learning. And I said, look, I'll be available for the next 6 months. I can bring these skills and I'd love to work with you. And I ended up joining for half a year 2 companies in Chile. One of them was a fintech startup. And back then, the first product prototype of Genify was born, actually. I was the first employee in this company, worked 6 months with them, and kept in touch, all the way until now, for the several years after. When you ask about passion for fintech in general, I spent over the past 10 years, I think roughly 5 years in China, and this is generally what inspired me to pursue Genify and venture into fintech. I can qualify it as the leapfrog that can be seen in fintech in developing markets specifically. If you think of China, there the notion of a bank has been completely reinvented or even wiped out. So for daily transactions, there's 2 major incumbents. Alipay and WeChat that have replaced entirely the use of cards and all sorts of transfers that was sort of the wake up call that the rest of the world will have to follow. Banks will have to adjust and catch up with emerging fintech companies, that there was a need for the software solutions that Genify offers today. So. To answer one part of your question, that's it. Generally from China.
Brilliant, Alex. Talk to me a little bit more about mentorship, kind of getting into those internships. Really, how did this serve you, and what advice can you offer those in the startup space wanting to follow kind of a similar pattern?
Sure. I think obviously of internships, but it doesn't have to be an internship in general. I think the main advice would be just get practical as early as possible. I often hear people around me having interests and projects and wanting to learn theory. The advice would just always be the same. Try to get your hands-on experience as soon as possible, and generally finding somewhere where there is enough space, to come as a new person in the field and to access this space, showcase your skills, and try to learn as much as possible. It can be a startup, it can be a research lab. These are in general great places to learn. And in general, I would advise as well to work as closely as possible with entrepreneurs and not necessarily seeking to work with those who are already successful, but those who are really in the grinding phase. Because that will really reveal what it's like to build a startup and make it take off.
Thanks, Alex. And I mean, looking at your background, you came from the likes of McKinsey. How would you say that having those sort of that background in, the management consulting side really served you? I suppose, how did that kind of really set you up for success?
When I think about it, there's quite a few things that come to mind. If you think of consulting, the joke would generally be that you focus on making slide decks. So obviously, that comes as as a small perk. I think our investor pitch decks are quite neat, but it's not at all only this, right? I can think of just knowing how to prioritize, and you absolutely need the skill as a founder or as any staff member of a startup. So there's often a lot of opportunities in the market, and if you're still trying to look for product market fit, you also need to apply the skill and to decide, okay, especially in the enterprise software space, which we belong to, companies have a lot of different needs, and identifying one that can be not only valid for that one large corporate, but for a lot of other ones. So prioritizing is a key skill that is essential in consulting and really, really applicable and valuable as an entrepreneur as well. Also, the ability to touch a lot of different things in a single day and learning quickly. I obviously, remember being parachuted literally on a consulting project and being expected to deliver and even present to clients in the first afternoon. And I think within the startup, as a staff member, you also don't necessarily have time to onboard. We cannot grant a 2-month period where someone can just learn about the product and the code, for example, for our tech team members. And so the ability to come on board quickly is essential as well, and that was very much a skill learned during the consulting years. Another key principle could be that I can remember is process before content. So that can be a good survival skill as well as an entrepreneur. And finally, top-down communication, a classic of consulting, and really essential to communicate quickly and effectively with all the stakeholders you face as a founder, whether they're investors, clients, staff members, regulators. You can't necessarily afford to spend too much time with each of these. So yeah, just top-down communication is another one.
Thanks for that, Alex. Those are certainly some amazing skills that I'm sure people can take away from that. Let's cast our attention, back to sort of Genify itself. I know I'd love to kind of unpack a bit more about the kind of 2 main products that you guys have and really what problems they're solving your clients.
Generally, our mission is to make spending transparent in all the banking applications and FinTech mobile applications that are available out there. Generally, we see that if we ask someone, so an individual like you and I, how much did you spend last year on groceries or going to restaurants, on gas, very relevant in today's climate, people are generally not able to answer. And we think that banks and fintechs that provide cards, credit cards, and so on, should be the one giving you this answer. And believe it or not, today, it's not possible. So our mission is generally to make that a reality. Now, gradually we realize that once you're able to understand or make spending and to an extent income understandable and do so automatically, then you can unlock a variety of other use cases. And a key one is also lending operations and more specifically credit decisioning. So today, Genify offers 2 API suites, one focused on making spending transparent and another one focused on automating credit decisioning. And these 2 API suites are offered to banks and fintechs generally.
I'd love to hear a bit more about the growth that's been happening at Genify. If you could sort of walk us through all of that. Has it been organic? How has your experience been with all of that so far?
Sure. One amazing thing we've noticed and experienced since the beginning of 2022 is one thing we can call inbound, or also some call it organic inbound or unsolicited outreach. So basically what happens is a lot of companies from around the world, but more specifically the US, are contacting Genify because they, interested in the product, want to source it, just want to test it in some cases. But the most important part is we see this organically. So we're not chasing these, we're receiving interest. And as a B2B software provider, that's generally what you want to achieve. And I often meet people who ask me, I tell them the story, and they're like, oh, you have inbound. And it's quite rare for early stage companies. And if we're not entirely sure why this happened. I think it's a proof of product market fit. But not only, I think that it's also about a lot of these companies find us through search engines like Google. And so this probably means we have, showing on our website the way it was built and so on, the right combination of keywords and good enough quality enough content according to search engines to be ranked high enough. And I can think maybe one key thing that we did is we published papers in academic conferences on some solutions that we have that use AI to achieve a certain task, and that links back to our website, and that might explain why we rank high enough. Generally, that's how we think of it today.
Thanks for that, Alex. That's amazing to kind of hear. Talk to us a little bit more about the approach that you've used to finding talent. I know you mentioned a lot of talent was found in places like Egypt, for example. So it would be great to hear a bit more about what your strategy has been and how you've acquired and built the teams that you have currently.
There's one approach that we followed generally is to try to, instead of hiring senior talent from the get-go and get value for your buck on the HR side right away, is we've decided to groom and invest in talent. And so that was generally the philosophy. Now, I'm not saying that was necessarily by choice, but as we've seen this work at the beginning, we've continued on that path. And if we think of Egypt specifically, I can tell that today it's one of the best things that we've achieved as a company is building a strong team there, specifically, as you said, for the software development side. And that's one of the things we're the most proud of today. How did that go? Again, we did not necessarily go there and try to hire in the first place, but we secured a partnership opportunity with a bank and a large e-commerce player, and decided to build a tech hub there to support the opportunity. Unfortunately, the partnership did not materialize in the end. But guess what? We realized that the colleagues, the talent that we found there was amazing. So we just decided to keep it in this way. And yeah, the rest is history. The good thing about Egypt is there's a booming FinTech scene, and especially from the last 2 years. So that makes people both attracted to fintechs, whether they're local, in Egypt, whether they're these fintechs are based locally or globally, and also there's generally a good talent pool that's accustomed to all considerations fintech-wise, basically.
That's great to know, Alex. Let's talk a bit more about, yourself as a founder and cast our attention to the investment side. How have you been selective with the investments that you've received, and really what would be your advice to some of our listeners around that topic?
Sure. So one thing that I can say about this is we did receive an investment offer quite some time ago in the past, and we made the difficult decision of turning it down. And back then, it was because we had enough prospects ahead of us and felt that we would add quite a burden compared to just the decision making compared to the amount in itself. And we realized through time that there's beauty and agility that you can get from being able to decide quickly. The flip side is you don't have a watchdog to control how you act. So you want to make sure you get the same kind of advice that you would get from board members as well. The other consideration in relation to an investment for a B2B enterprise software company is you can sign very large deals that would make perhaps the next round of investment, especially in the early stages, almost obsolete. One next contract could be as big as the next investment round, at least obviously a contract over multiple years. But then that opens up other sources of funding that may not be VC and one-time sort of lump sum cash deposits, but rather more like turning an API subscription signed over a multi-year term, you can turn that into a loan that's based off of this and get the cash right away as well. There are other alternative sources of funds today. So generally, that's one way to think about it today. And also, it's important to mention the current fundraising climate in the first half of this year, where generally it's known to be harder to raise. So all these considerations are just more and more relevant given this climate. Yes.
Okay, and I know you also touched on, the value of partnerships earlier on. I'd love to understand with Genify, what can you reveal to us is on the cards, around that, partnership notion, and just really what can listeners look forward to, and what is on the cards for the coming year.
So we have two very high-profile partnerships cooking at the moment. I unfortunately cannot really reveal the names yet, but I can tell the profile. So there's a large consultancy, one of the big name ones, and another one is a major software provider in all verticals, but including in banking. And generally, the idea behind these is to handle distribution and client access. As a FinTech, selling software to banks and other fintechs, you want to build a great product, and you're trying to push it to in a very well guarded territory of banks, and finding existing trusted advisors of these banks can be massively helpful. That's generally the idea behind this, and we already see, even before finalizing the partnerships, we're already reaping the benefits of these partnerships, already seeing client opportunities coming in from these. So hopefully we will proceed with an announcement for both of these before the end of the quarter or in the next quarter. That's our hope for now.
Okay, that's very exciting. We'll certainly be watching with bated breath to see who these partnerships are with. And finally, it would be great to understand a bit more about what's happening and specifically what is ahead on the product and tech side at Genify.
Sure. I mean, if we think of what's ahead, specifically on the product and tech side, we want to go from, for example, on our spending transparency suite, which we call PFM, Personal Finance Management. We're currently very strong on the product side, turning a raw set of transactions into what we call enriched data that can be used for analytics. And we have built on top of this several modules, for example, what we can call slice and dice. So you can go from raw transactions into like all sorts of pie charts and peer comparison and so on. And we just want to keep pushing in this direction. So that's one key thing. And more generally, if we think of the future, we're currently very focused on delivering ongoing client integrations and on these two product suites in parallel, which can be a challenge. And when this is done, we'll focus on building new modules. So generally that's what's ahead of us for the next few months.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Alex, for all of that. It truly was a pleasure hearing a bit more about yourself, more about Genify. Please let our listeners know if they'd like to reach out to you and get hold of you, what would be the best way?
Yeah, I mean, generally on LinkedIn, contacting any of our team members on LinkedIn or myself, or we have a contact form on our website, or email, hello@genify.ai. Straightforward.
Amazing. Thank you so much again, Alex, for absolutely everything. And it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Catherine. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode, Talking Success, Connecting the Global FinTech Community. Please follow us on LinkedIn under Talent in the Cloud, or if you're interested in exec talent, expanding your FinTech team, or you yourself are looking for an exciting change in your career, please check out our website, talentinthecloud.io.